A lot of people are headed to Tybee Island to enjoy the summer weather, and that means preparing to spend some money on parking. But there is some good news. WSAV's Isley Herschel tells us how the city making it a little cheaper and a lot less stressful.
At $4 an hour and strict enforcements, Tybee Island parking can get expensive fast. But now the city is implementing a new parking pass, which will help make parking cheaper for visitors and locals alike. Tybee Island's new daily parking passes will make it easier and cheaper for visitors and locals to spend the day at the island. The passes cost $25 for the whole day, saving visitors over $20 in parking fees. City officials tell me parking fees go towards supporting the infrastructure of the island. They tell me the city's goal for visitors is to make things as easy as possible.
Where else can you take your family for $25 a day and enjoy a beautiful day on the beach? You know, if you go downtown Savannah, you have to pay for parking there, and it's really inconvenient. We're here, enjoy the beach for $25 and bring your friends, bring your family, make a day of it.
Somebody like me who's just coming down for the day, maybe instead of buying a couple hours, we'll invest the whole day and spend it down here and spread some of our money throughout this community.
Parking is enforced from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You're able to purchase a daily parking pass through the Park Tybee app. On Tybee Island, Isley Herschel, WSAV News 3, on your side.
3 suspects have been taken in custody in 2 different states after being accused in a deadly shooting in Port Royal. Now we're told that Derek Riley was apprehended in North Carolina, Naeem Riley and Damon Guathney Jr. taken in custody in Florida. Now they're accused of murder, attempted armed robbery, and other crimes. Investigators say on May 15th, those suspects attacked another group of people at the Shell Point Apartments. We're told 23-year-old Trayshawn Reed attempted to intervene. He ended up getting shot and died at the scene. At the same time, Savannah police investigating after reports of shots fired in the area of the Publix on Abercorn Street. In a Facebook post, District 6 Alderman Curtis Pertee says that 3 people who know each other have now been apprehended. We're told it is an isolated incident. If you have any information, though, about what happened, you can contact Savannah Police. Well, quick access to medical equipment can be the difference in saving a life. WSV's Evan Smoke has more on how Bulloch County hoping to boost emergency preparedness by launching a registry for AED devices.
AEDs are life-saving equipment, and Bulloch County 911 wants to know if you have one available for use. The registry comes after the Georgia General Assembly passed the Mason-Sells Act earlier this year and will compile devices in Bulloch, Candler, and Evans counties. Bulloch County EMA Director Corey Kemp says once the registry goes live in July, 911 dispatchers will be able to more quickly locate them when there is a cardiac emergency.
If you were to call 911 and it is a cardiac arrest, once 911 receives that call, they can look up on their screen for little purple hearts, and that purple heart will say AED is located either in this building or this building. They can click on that building. It will have a set of notes in it, and it will tell you exactly where that AED is located.
For more information on how to register an AED in one of the 3 counties, please visit our website, wsav.com. Reporting in Statesboro, Evan Smoke, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Well, WSAV is your local election headquarters, and South Carolina House Representative Michael Rivers lost his primary last night. Now he could be facing even more problems. Colleton County sheriffs say the longtime state rep got into an altercation with another man at the Green Pond Community Center where voting was taking place. And during that fight, a gun was displayed. Deputies got to the scene. Rivers nowhere to be found. Now SLED is involved in the investigation. Rivers, who has been in office since 2017, lost his Democratic primary last night to Shannon DeLoach. And 3 incumbents were on the Beaufort County Council ballot last night, but only one walked away with a chance to keep their seat. Both Paula Brown and Tom Reitz lost in the Republican primaries. Brown defeated by Craig Gordon by less than 3% of the vote. Reitz lost to Elizabeth Galloway in his primary. Now sitting councilman Mark Lawson was able to hold on to his district race. He moves on to face Democrat Janine Mutterer in November. And another big race that a lot of people are watching will determine who succeeds South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. On the Republican side, there's going to be a runoff between the top 2 vote getters. Pamela Evette took 29%. Alan Wilson got 26%. Now Evette and Wilson will face off head-to-head Tuesday, June 23rd to decide who's going to move on to the general election in November.
Fight to eliminate the income tax, reduce your property taxes, DOGE, fraud, waste, and abuse from government, promoting kids' first education agenda, fix our crumbling roads and bridges, lower utility rates by bringing more energy into South Carolina, and having smart growth that respects the character of the communities that we live in. No more boondoggle deals that are cramming things down your throat. We're going to have a thoughtful government. We're not going to have the status quo anymore.
In 2 weeks, we're going to win this runoff election, but that is just the beginning. We're going to eliminate income tax. It's your money. It belongs in your pockets, not in Columbia. We're going to slash property taxes because no South Carolinian should ever be taxed out of their home.
Now, as for the Democratic side, Jermaine Johnson earned an outright win with more than 221,000 votes. He won a commanding 60% of the total vote over his challengers Billy Webster and Mullins McLeod. Last night, Johnson thanked his supporters for all their hard work.
This victory here this evening does not belong to me alone. It belongs to everybody in this room. Everybody behind me. I thank you. I thank you for standing with me when it was not popular. I thank you for standing with me when they said I wasn't electable.
Now, Johnson advances to that November 3rd general election to take on the winner of the Evett-Wilson runoff. And the race for Congress in South Carolina's 1st District starting to take shape after a wide-open primary field. You might remember nearly 20 Democrats and Republicans all vying to take the seat of Representative Nancy Mace, who was running for governor. On the Republican side, the two candidates moving forward, Jenny Honeycutt and Mark Smith. Honeycutt picked up about 22% of the vote. Smith followed with about 18%. And over on the Democratic side, both Mac DeFord and Nancy LaCour will face off in a runoff election. Neither candidate, of course, got more than 50% of that vote. LaCour finished with more than 20,000 votes, DeFord more than 16. And while it wasn't the result he hoped for overall, DeFord does believe his showing in Beaufort County alone, with more than 36% of voters casting a ballot for him, it's a good sign for the runoff in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, it's a shotgun sprint to make the case to South Carolinians that, particularly Democratic voters, that, I'm a committed Democrat. I'm not a lifelong Republican turned Democrat. And I am a public servant, have been serving here in the Low Country for almost 2 decades. And I'm not bought and paid for by AI data center billionaires.
At the same time in Georgia, early voting continues through this Friday for the state's primary runoff. On the Republican side of the governor's ballot, healthcare executive Rick Jackson running against Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. In the primary, Jones got about 38% of the vote, Jackson about 34%. And over in the 1st Congressional District Democratic runoff, Joyce Griggs facing Amanda Hollowell. Of course, this district covers much of the coastal empire, including Chatham and Bryan, Effingham, Liberty, Long, and McIntosh counties. In the primary, Griggs got about 34% of the vote, Hollowell about 25%. You can see all the full results and continuing updates for both states' races online right now. WSAV.com/electionhq. A Georgia developer is going to have to pay more than $1 million in fine over damaged Native American artifacts and remains. Federal officials say Savannah Land Holdings mishandled about 80,000 artifacts and lost or disposed of about 3,000 more. It all started last year when the government sued to stop construction of the waterways development in Richmond Hill. Savannah Land Holdings denies any wrongdoing, but it's now agreed to pay more than $1 million to settle the case. They've also agreed to adopt measures for handling historic property moving forward. And a popular Savannah pizza parlor, it's going to be closed until further notice, and it's pretty easy to see why. Take a good look at this. A power pole fell onto Love Zola's Pizza and Subs earlier today. Management says for the safety of customers and employees, that business will remain closed until the problem's addressed. It's still unclear exactly what made that pole fall over.
Now, Time Saver Traffic, sponsored by Arrowhead Clinic, the accident doctors, where it pays to get well.
Well, on and off crossing over the Savannah River on the Talmadge Bridge and the Back River Bridge, we've had some slow-moving traffic as you've crossed over into South Carolina into that construction zone. Speeds have been down to around 25 to 30 miles per hour just across the Savannah River, but that does improve a little bit as you head northbound on Interstate 16 near Dean Forest Road. Speeds are down to around 45 miles per hour, so taking some extra time to head toward Pooler. Now, if you are going to be crossing over into the Low Country, overall not too bad heading toward Hilton Head, but heading from Bluffton and say the Sun City area through Pritchard, making your way into the direction of Savannah. Definitely some delays along Okatee Highway as you head toward the south, so take some extra time to come into the city. As far as drive times, heading to Hardeeville overall taking 20 minutes along US 17.